know what he said just the other day? He said Republicans should have no peace because we dare to protect our borders. That is a crime that we're committing.
Is that? I didn't know that.
That's what he's saying. He says that
He did say that.
He did say that. And
I don't agree with that language. I don't think it's helpful to talk about how, your political opponent should know no peace. That's crazy, but
absolutely
he did say
not.
it.
And because that's essentially inciting the violence that Democrats were obviously guilty of during the summer of 2020 when they held up a drug addict, George Floyd, as their emblem of racial justice. And so Pritzker is bringing that all back. And AOC is currently on this anti-oligarchy tour. And you know what? She was just exposed for flying on a private jet.
I saw that as well. I reposted that as well.
And Jillian,
compliments of Charlie Kirk with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. And you know on what day she was exposed? On Earth Day.
Wow. How ironic.
The vanguard will be there, sir.
But anyway, Gavin, that's not all we have to hate watch today. We've got a special extra episode of Anna Kasparian's Her Take, also featuring Jillian Michaels. If you didn't get enough Jillian, just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, she's on a real tear, guys. She's on a real tear. And yeah, luckily, as Zach said, we have another episode of Her Take to dig into today live on the Vanguard. We don't even have to watch much of this, bro. Honestly, you guys can watch the whole thing if you want. We're probably just going to watch honestly the first 10 minutes or so, because you don't even need to get that far before you just find yourself buried deep in a pile of cringe, almost suffocating, from the lack of oxygen, right? This is intensely embarrassing, and it doesn't really seem like Anna has gotten any more comfortable on this show. On the last one, it seemed like Jillian was the most natural, the most kind of charismatic or confident, despite her wretched, stupid opinions. But Anna still seems a little bit awkward. She doesn't really seem comfortable asserting herself. And also, I just am very confused as to what her ideology even is. Obviously, she calls herself unaligned. She calls her Substack unaligned. But it's like, you can only ride that for so long, because eventually you are going to get backed into a corner where you have to fucking answer for what your actual ideology is, where you actually have to have an opinion. And more, I just feel like Anna is opinionless. She's completely without an ideology. She's just saying whatever she thinks like these people and this audience wants to hear. But I don't think it's working. I don't think it's, going to be successful.
Oh, yeah. She's very stiff. She's very robotic almost, and she doesn't feel natural. And I think a big part of it is that she's just not comfortable in this environment. She's finally gotten to Oz, if you will, which is this conservative news show or this unaligned news show. And she realizes that she actually doesn't really like these people. She doesn't want to spend all day around them. She actually doesn't feel comfortable, and she's not accustomed to conservative pushback. It's like, bro, you thought the left would push back on you? Do you ever watch one piece of right-wing media? If you start disagreeing with them, you're going to get Lindy Lee. And Lindy Lee is dumb as hell, but at least she's confident in what she has to say. She'll lie with I don't know if charisma is the right word, but she'll lie with feigned sincerity, right? She understands the script. Like, if Anna wanted to come out there and just read the room and say what's popular, she would need to commit to the character, right? She seems like an NBA player that has experience, but she gets to a new team and she doesn't know the scheme. So she's just running around all clunky and she doesn't fit in. So she's going to be a bench warmer and not an all-star. And I think that she'd imagined for so long, from the safety of the Young Turks studio, where everybody kissed her ass, where Jank loved her, right, where everything was a soft seat for her. She kind of imagined all those doors opening up when she left, and it would be the exact same environment where, oh, Mrs. Kasparian is coming on, right? She's going to speak. She's going to give her take now, and people would show her deference. Now she has to fight for every single fucking inch, because the only reason they brought her is because they want to tear her left-wing ideas down. They don't actually like her. They don't actually think that she's part of the gang, right? And all of these people are just playing characters. They're cosplaying. Lindy Lee was a Democrat until 5 minutes ago. That's why she spends all of her time trying to prove herself as the most deranged right-winger, the person who hates immigrants the most, the people who hates trans people the most, the people who, loves everything right-wing in America and Trump the most. And then she can turn around and say, I used to be a Democrat, but even I can see all of these things. She knows her role. Jillian is the only one that gets to be fucking honest, and that's because she's just a pendulum, and you never know what you're going to get from her, but she says it confidently. And the other people on this panel are pretty much irrelevant.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's take a look at this, guys. Very funny. You're going to love this.
Welcome to Her Take, where real conversation happens. You've got differing points of view from all ends of the spectrum.
The AI script.
Right, center, left of center, somewhat. And we're always looking for common ground. Today, joining us is Elizabeth Pipko, former GOP spokesperson. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
I believe you are ready for this. We're going to jump right in. I promised Lindy we would start our second show talking about the 2028 Democratic frontrunners. So let's jump right in with this guy here, Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. If you could pull it up for me, Nat, we've got Pritzker thunders against do-nothing Democrats as he stokes 2028 talk. All right, go.
Where do I even
Where do
start?
we begin?
This is a complete clown car. This is the same guy. He's an oligarch. Let's remind folks, this is a guy who's pretending to be a man of the people. He is so wealthy. He's a billionaire.
Can
And
you
you know
pause
what
it?
he said? Just
Donald Trump is your guy now, you fucking idiot. And Donald Trump has to lie about, also, how did they make their living? Both of them hoteliers. You can't, literally, JB Pritzker owns, what's it, Hyatt Hotels?
Yeah, well, JB Pritzker is actually a good businessman, unlike Donald Trump. That's the real difference.
Exactly. And again, I have my problems with JB Pritzker, but the fact that these conservatives are going to sit here after they just championed for the last, 9 years, Donald Trump as the man of the people, who was going to turn America around with his business skills, who was going to lead America back to prosperity because he understood how to build things. Just the incredible bold-faced hypocrisy there from Lindy Lee. Again, reveals she does not believe anything she says. She's just trying to think of what she can say to appease conservatives and trigger liberals.
Yep. And again, if that exact same, criticism was coming out of the mouth of like a Marxist or like a socialist, I'd say pretty hard to argue with, bro. I don't like the idea of supporting a billionaire either. I don't like the idea of a billionaire, an oligarch leading this country either. But yeah, the rich fucking hypocrisy coming from this Trump supporting MAGA propagandist, it's just shameless.
the other day, he said Republicans should have no peace because we dare to protect our borders.
Hey.
That is a crime that we're committing.
Is that?
He
I didn't
is
know
saying that's what he's saying. He says that
He did say that.
He
yeah.
did say that. And
I don't agree with that language. I don't think it's helpful to talk about how, your political opponent should know no peace. That's crazy.
Why not?
He did-
That is the language of the fucking Republican Party all the time. Have you ever heard of the Tea Party? Have you ever? We will not let the Democrats accomplish fuck all. We will make their lives hell. That was how they accomplished it and made our lives hell.
Yeah. So Anna's first contribution to this panel is literally concern trolling over JB Pritzker. She wants us to be afraid of the big boy, Zach, the big boy from Illinois. Come on. She wants us to be afraid of that, to act like he's stoking a climate of violence against Republicans and conservatives, like me, Anna Kasparian. It's not about that. He's not fucking saying that we should threaten conservatives' safety, make them literally feel like afraid to go outside. Obviously, that's not what he means. He means like in a political sense.
Yeah. He means take to the streets. He means raise a ruckus. He
Yep.
means protest. He means don't roll over. He means when ICE comes to occupy your town, resist them. That's what he's talking about, right? And it was actually a pretty good thing to come out of his mouth, right? Like, I was triggered about the fact that he vetoed some worker protection laws, and I think that there's a ton of really valid criticism of JB Pritzker, and I have given it on this podcast. But the framework that they're using to come after him right now is absolutely ridiculous, and it makes it more hypocritical and ridiculous coming from conservatives who are about to, try and allude to the fact that Donald Trump's actually like a radical populist and he's anti-establishment and he's all of those things. When, as Gavin pointed out, he's just a shittier businessman. They both came from generational wealth.
Yep. And again, this just gives away the game. This is why the show is going to fail. This is why Anna's going to fail in this new lane, because she was even introduced as the theoretical, left of center addition to this panel, but she can't even argue with these wretched right-wing talking points. All she has is this pathetic agreement. Like, yep, you're right. You're right. The left is always wrong. Every Democrat is always at fault. And we should always agree with the right-wing framing of every controversy, even if it's a fake one. Right? Obviously, Republicans say way more unhinged shit on a fucking daily basis. If they really wanted to concern troll anything, you could probably find 100 comments from Donald Trump that he's made over the last week. Saber rattling with fucking countries, doing all kinds of shit, spreading literal hate speech about people that live in this fucking country, right? But we're going to go with JB Pritzker saying that Republicans should know no peace. Obviously, again, politically, like it's crazy. That's Anna's contribution to this panel, is just agreeing that Democrats are bad and that Democrats are scary and that they're out of line.
Yeah, she doesn't know her role, because even if you are just slightly left of center, like even if she doesn't consider herself like a hardcore progressive anymore, she's like rolled back some of her cultural positions or whatever the hell she's decided she's rolled back. The obvious thing to do when somebody says that is to come over the top with a pile driver. Talk about how I don't give a fuck about your concern trolling when Donald Trump is actually doing X, Y, and Z, when he's actually black bagging Americans with legal residence. I don't care about some random governor's rhetoric when the president of the United States could be said the same thing of it. He's actually doing things. Why don't we talk about the things that are actually happening? Is this a news show or is this a speculative stroke off? Okay, because I want to talk about the things that have happened. Let's talk about the last 10 days. Let's just keep it to the last 10 days. Let's talk about his fucking corrupt effort to get a stable coin through. Let's talk about the fact that, he's talking about taking over the Gaza Strip. Let's talk about the fact that, Rumisa Ozturk, was freed because they showed that the Trump administration had no fucking evidence. They lied publicly about that and abducted this woman off the streets of Tufts University. Let's talk about how Mahmoud Khalil still isn't free and he still hasn't been, brought back to his fucking hometown of New York. They didn't even bring him back to New Jersey. He's missed the birth of his own son. The list goes on and on and on. Okay, why aren't we talking about the things that have happened instead of this like random speculation over a powerless governor that has nothing to do with national politics, which is what the show is about? That's what Anna Kasparian's job is to say on that show. But the fact that she's too timid to say it or the fact that she's too stupid to say it, I don't fucking know. But she just goes ahead and agrees and is like, you're right. Civility is very important.
Yeah. And it's the same shit that Cenk has been doing when he went on Dr. Phil. Despite the literal fascist Trump administration and all of their insanity, it's still somehow the Democrats that need to be tone policed. Remember Cenk on Dr. Phil? Zach, what did he do? He said, yeah, I can't believe the Democrats didn't stand up and clap for the stupid kid with cancer. That's his contribution to the discourse, right? After Trump's fascist fucking State of the Union, his main commentary was, yeah, I think it was fucked up that the Democrats didn't stand up. And I can't believe that Representative Al Green, protested in a way that I found to be out of line. Again, tone policing Democrats while the Republicans literally descend into fascism. It's crazy. But let's watch a little bit more of this because it does get even more embarrassing.
Orders. That is a crime that we're committing.
Is that?
I didn't know that. That's what he's saying. He says that
He did say that.
He did say that. And
I don't agree with that language. I don't think it's helpful to talk about how, your political opponent should know no peace. That's crazy, but
absolutely
he did say
not.
it.
And because that's essentially inciting the violence that Democrats were obviously guilty of during the summer of 2020 when they held up a drug addict, George Floyd, as their emblem of racial justice. And so Pritzker is bringing that all back. And
Where's the
he and
interruption from Anna?
AOC and Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg, they're all vying to be the lead contender of the 2020 race. And
Okay, we gotta pause this. Unless I'm wrong and Anna comes back furious over this, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are you doing on this show? You're gonna let them call George Floyd a drug addict? You're gonna not completely fucking paper over the fact that cop actually went to jail for fucking murder because he choked him to death with his knee on his neck for 8 minutes? I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah. We could sit here and debunk the argument about George Floyd, but I'm not even going to stoop to that fucking level. It's disgusting. But listen to this. She says something pretty funny too.
He and AOC and Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg, they're all vying to be the lead contender of the 2020 race. And all of them have very deep flaws. Like, where do I even start? And AOC is currently on this anti-oligarchy tour. And you know what? She was just exposed for flying on a private jet.
I saw that as well. I reposted.
Again, this is like a brain dead fucking parody of a show like this. And AOC was just exposed for riding on a private jet. Can you believe it, Zach? Like, who the fuck is the audience for this? I genuinely want to know who finds this enjoyable, who finds this entertaining, insightful, whatever. It's just literally the most brain dead talking points and like self-parody presented as if it's something that we should actually listen to. It's crazy. I don't understand. Again, who the fuck watches this?
Yeah, I mean, the literal dumbest people on planet Earth. The people who are just absolutely fucking brainless. Their mind is lead poison, and they just need constant affirmation of what they already believe. They're just clapping seals, ready to have anybody's, I hate that guy too. Hey, that lady, she said something, I agree with that. That's what I think. Yeah, I hate that lady. Yeah, she said she hates that lady. I hate that lady. Oh, she's just like me. That's who watches this kind of crap. And I yanked out my fucking headphones.
Oh shit.
There we go. But it's crazy. She literally just tried to dunk on JB Pritzker by calling him an oligarch. And then she turns around and she's like dunking on an like, make up your mind, woman.
Yeah. And also this segment is called Top Dim Candidates. Lindy Lee just kind of like jumped the gun. She was talking about Gavin Newsom, AOC, like all of it, Pete Buttigieg. She listened to them all and was just like, I hate them all. They all suck. It's like, well, slow down a little bit. We're only 3 minutes in. We haven't even gotten to Gavin Newsom. We haven't even gotten to AOC. But she can't even help herself. She's just so eager to be the number one. I hate the Democrats on the panel. The number one, talking head that's going to say all the most shit and throw all the red meat to the right wing base. But it's kind of just ruining the whole fucking show because, again, she's just so eager to get her shitty take out there that she's jumping the gun. They haven't even brought up Gavin Newsom yet. They haven't even started really talking about AOC, but apparently we're moving on to that now.
Yeah, she's definitely giving such pick me energy that it's insufferable. But yeah, we can keep playing this. It's crazy. And for people who don't already know, we debunked it before. The reason that they were on a private plane was because they were going to parts of Montana that don't have commercial airports, y'all. They're trying to reach people in all parts of this country, right? They both travel commercial very regularly.
Yeah, no, it's not like they were going on vacation.
Yeah. They were literally doing the Fight the Oligarchy tour and going to places in Montana and places in like Idaho and Utah where there's not commercial air flight.
Right.
Did that as well.
And Jillian,
compliments of
ladies-
Charlie Kirk with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And on what day she was exposed? On
Earth
Earth Day.
Wow, how
Wow,
ironic.
it's almost
I
like
think
they planned
of
that.
everyone that I've kind of tuned into, tapped into, it seems like she's probably the most viable option, at least for Gen Z. And that seems to be what's
AOC.
for Gen Z specifically. Like, I think that when it comes
Woof.
to the primaries, I think that she is pretty much a lock with Gen Z. Possibly the general election as well, if she were to make it that far. But I think that her views would be a little bit more of an issue with anyone who is more moderate or anyone who, I mean, she's a self-proclaimed socialist at the end of the day. And there's a lot of people who buy in.
She had more crossover with Donald Trump voters than I think any other Democratic congressman.
Yeah, 100%. At least, I mean, in her district. Yeah, I don't know if that would translate to nationwide. Hopefully it would.
Yeah.
Into that without really knowing what it means and the true implications of that.
I mean, I don't know if she's a socialist, to be quite frank. I think that she tends to position herself or present herself as someone who is very far left economically speaking. But when you look at her leadership or how she has governed as a member of Congress, she seems to really lean into more of the culture war stuff than anything else, to be honest with you.
I've always perceived her as being Listen, I also want to get this out of the way because she's not a bartender. She has like a double major.
Yeah, by the way,
pull this up. She's
This chaps my ass, everyone. This makes me fucking pissed off. Being a bartender is a hard fucking job, okay? Like, it's kind of like being a chef. Chefs had their whole moment, right? Where, people respect you publicly, but you get paid like shit still. Bartenders haven't had their moment like that unless you live in like New York City or London, but it's a hard job. It's a sophisticated job, and you have to know all kinds of bottles. You have to have a really robust palate. You have to understand how to entertain people and work at the same time. You always have to have an even keel, okay? Because if you get pissed off, it ruins the vibe in the bar. You have to go from being really pissed off when you have to take care of something to being really cool again. You can never let your blood boil. It actually is a perfect job to prepare yourself for politics. There's an excellent book by the guy that runs the Violet Hour in Chicago, and he talks about how running a saloon is like the oldest profession in America. He talks about how he loves it. It taught him to be a diplomat. It taught him to be a better friend, a better member of his community. It taught him about how you run a business, you be effective, all this shit. I hate the slander that comes with working class professions. I loved bartending. I kept doing it a long time after I had to. I could have done this show only for a long time, but I kept up the bartending because I loved it, because I loved my friends there. I loved the people that I saw every day. I thought it was an incredible line of work that I got to be creative in and do all of that shit. So yeah, you would do it even if you had a fucking degree. My buddy Peyton is still bartending at that exact same bar, mixing up drinks for people, designing the menu, and he has a master's degree in literature from the University of Missouri in Columbia. The dude's wicked smart. Okay, people do that kind of shit all the time because they actually enjoy what they do for a living. And bartending is not like a sham profession. It's something that you could choose to do for a career if you wanted to, especially in a place like Boston or New York City.
like her politics, but I'm sick and tired of calling her a bartender because I believe she's got like a double major in economics or political science, something. She's
By the way,
she's not an
I mean,
idiot. But honey, she might have waded her way through
bartenders are
college.
idiots.
What's her
What the fuck?
education, Nat?
I was like saying, Peyton has a
Yeah, get back to me on that one.
To be honest with you,
she's
I have
not.
no problem
I don't
with
either.
members of Congress having worked like normal jobs
Agreed.
because they're more likely to be able to connect with ordinary everyday Americans and understand the lives they live. The fact that she was a bartender, I don't see as a knock on her record at all.
Exactly.
I actually think that's one of the
I
things.
actually think it's the opposite. I think
Yeah.
it helps.
You're
her.
backpedaling
And I
so
think it
hard.
was a mistake on
The
the
damage has
Republican
been
side
done.
to say, "Oh, she's the bartender. You'd vote for a bartender."
Agreed.
When
Right.
many
totally
Americans
agree
are
with you.
proud
The
to be
issue
bartenders.
is the
Yeah.
disgusting hypocrisy.
Right.
The fact that she labels herself as this climate, that the originator of the Green New Deal. She
Yeah.
has the gumption to
There it is.
to
Hold that
fly.
up, Lindy. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, sweetheart. There it is. She's okay. So she attended Boston
man?
University, where she double majored in
They were like, "Shut up, Lindy. We're going to this slide."
Yeah, I literally. Also, like, does AOC deny having a fucking degree? Like, they're acting like this is some gotcha. Like, oh, did you know that she went to school and double majored in a degree? Like, has a degree? Like, okay, I kind of assumed that. Like, and people all the time have a job while they're in college. Like, I have a degree. I went to college. Guess what I did while I was at college? I worked at a fucking taco restaurant up the street called Mission Taco Joint. And guess what I did? I bussed fucking tables and got paid like literally like $8 an hour to do fucking the shittiest job ever. I hated that fucking job. Either way. Yeah. Like, both things can exist at once. What is this weird? This is like some rich person logic, right? Because they can't fathom having a job while also being at school, right? If they were at school, that would just be their only thing because they would just have enough money to pay for it, I guess. But yeah, people have to have a job while they're in school. What the fuck is this?
And also, they're like knocking her because she moved to New York. And like, guys, if you work in the service industry and you can get a job bartending in New York City, it's gonna pay your fucking rent, man. It's hard work, but you're gonna eat and you're gonna be able to go out with the homies after you're done, and you're gonna be able to have a life. And a lot of times, you cannot find a job that will take care of you that good with an international relations and economics degree. I mean, Gavin and I personally know people who are really smart, who went to really good universities, who went to, get all kinds of fucking accolades and, master's degrees. Fucking Gavin's sister has a PhD. Like, it's hard to go out there and just get a job, right? So people take odd end jobs all the time. Like, just because you're not working in the field that you have a bunch of credentials in doesn't mean that you're like, a fucking idiot or a loser or any of those kinds of things. Sometimes you just realize, oh shit, right now I need this to work into my life right now. Like I mentioned, my homie Peyton, he's got a master's degree. He was working at a marketing firm for a long time, fucking didn't like it, and now he works full time making cocktails because he really likes it.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like there's a big gradation between like being a bartender at Chili's, just like making fucking margarita Monday, like shit like that. There's a difference between that and actually being a craft cocktail bartender, an actual mixologist. In the same way that, yeah, obviously there's a difference between like being the chef at McDonald's and being the chef at like a real fucking, nice restaurant. Like, those are two different things, even though technically it's the same job title, chef. Yeah. Like, that one is more impressive than the other. So just acting like being a bartender is some shit job that only idiots do, like, that's just not the case. It takes actual serious talent. You have to know what the fuck you're doing. Like, a lot of people just couldn't do it, even if they wanted to, or even if they had to. Like, they just wouldn't have the ability to know what goes into a cocktail. It is a very specific talent. It's something that you're really good at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that's crazy.
Yeah, it pisses me off when people act like it's like an unserious profession. It's like, dude, do you not understand that? Like, it's actually way harder than you think. And I think it really does prepare her for Congress. And they try and walk it back, and they're like, I think working class people should be in Congress, but the damage is already done. You already were like, oh, you can't be working class and educated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. They're like, you're either a blue collar guy that can relate to the humble folks, or you're educated, and they don't understand. They can't fathom. No, I like these people. I'm hanging out with these people. These people are smarter than you. Okay. And they're not nearly as fucking jaded by, like, and they're not in their own bubble. And, yeah, they're not paid to say stupid shit on the internet.
Yeah.
International relations and economics, graduating with honors. So I just want to say, like, the fact that people put her down and suggest, oh, she's a waitress, as if there was anything wrong with that,
Right,
which we've just established there's nothing wrong with it, but she's also very intelligent and very well educated. I'm not a fan, but I think it's important we give credit where credit is due.
But the issue is her hypocrisy. I am a staunch environmentalist, which is actually what kept
No,
me in
you're
the
not!
Democratic Party for more than a decade. I care deeply about clean air and clean water. This is the hill that I will die on. And she dares to fly around on private jets all day long, every week, day in and day out, and call
Every
herself
day.
an environmentalist.
AOC flies on private jets every day. Yeah, she takes one from her apartment in DC to the congressional, building that she works in. Zach, did you not know that? Like, this is fucking crazy. She took a few private jets because she was on this tour, literally going from like bumfuck town in Arizona to bumfuck town in Montana or some shit, or Idaho, like within the same day. There's no other way to get there. Sorry that we haven't invented fucking teleportation yet. But I'm sorry, there's a difference between doing that for an actual important thing you're participating in, like the Fight the Oligarchy tour. It's not like she just, went to the Super Bowl or the fucking Met Gala on a private jet. That would be scandalous. I would be criticizing her for that. But she's just acting like she's flying all over the place, going on vacation.
Yeah, we can keep watching.
It's like, how dare you? How dare you become one of the most egregious carbon emitters? You're literally killing us. That's what you're doing. I feel that strongly about it.
Would you never
You're
fly on a
voting for
private
Donald
jet?
I
Trump!
don't fly in private jets. I can't. I have plenty of opportunity to. Trust
Right,
me.
and you've rejected them
Trust
at every
me.
opportunity you've
Every
had.
single opportunity.
Purely on the basis of
I'm not going to pretend I have not rejected it any opportunity.
But the point is the hypocrisy.
Of course,
that's
but it's not
the
just
issue.
that. It's not. I'm not done though, because at the Met Gala, she goes in this designer gown. She says she's a woman of the people. She goes to the Met Gala of all places and hobnobs with the richest people in the world.
But she wore, the
I know.
tax the rich dress.
That wasn't even
And
this
didn't
Met
have a
Gala.
dressmaker, by the way.
They
That was another
they never
scandal.
do. But I also want to go back. You said she's a socialist. You said I don't know if she's a socialist. That's kind of the point.
You should just rename the show the Cackling Karens.
Oh my god.
Fuck every single one of these ladies.
It's so fucking easy to debunk all of this too. You know what I mean? Once she went to the Met Gala and the tax the rich dress, I think 3 years ago. So it's been
I think it was like 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah, it was yesterday's news. It's been old forever. 2, Lindy Lee has never been offered to ride on a private jet ever, and she is clearly projecting. 3, Donald Trump just did huge public land sell-offs, and I didn't hear you crying about it. So there goes your fucking environmentalist credentials. You've sacrificed everything. Donald Trump has uttered the words drill, baby, drill many, many, many times on the campaign trail. Okay, so don't fuck with me that you also just tried to drag AOC for supporting the Green New Deal. So do you hear yourself? You're totally inconsistent. You're almost, and she might turn out to be too dumb and too unsubtle even to make a right-wing pivot happen for herself. That's why she already got snubbed for the main host gig to Jillian Michaels.
Yep. And also this lady totally sucks. She's like an RNC spokeswoman or something, and she has no charisma at all.
Nope.
I don't think she knows if she's a socialist. Mostly that's kind of the point of socialism. Those at the top are never socialists themselves,
Right.
but everybody underneath them. So she's got a chunk of young people in the country advocating for socialism, not realizing that their leader doesn't
Amen.
actually believe in it and that they don't.
Bro, this is a capitalist country. We don't live in a socialist country. So yeah, if you're a socialist living in a capitalist country, you don't really have any fucking choice but to participate in the system that literally surrounds you, that is baked into the cake so irrevocably that you can't have a fucking job without participating to some extent. So you can't, just such a tired bullshit criticism to make of any socialist living in America. Like, what? You don't literally live on a commune? Wow. I guess you're not a communist.
Did you know Bernie Sanders has 2 houses, Gavin? Yeah, he has 2 houses.
They don't even know what they're marching for. That's the
Who
problem.
can outline what's actually in the Green New Deal? Because it's my understanding it's pretty socialist.
Yes.
From cradle to grave, as
There's job
Hannity says, from
guarantee in
womb to
there.
tomb.
Yeah.
Everything's paid for.
Oh my God. It's actually funny because the Green New Deal is actually kind of low-key capitalist. It incentivizes a bunch of new industries. It would make a bunch of people phenomenally wealthy, those of which actually decided to get in on said industries, right? The green energy, all of these different new and emerging forms of energy that aren't really fully tapped as far as their potential. That's the idea of the Green New Deal. Hence the inclusion of the phrase New Deal. What do you think the New Deal was, right? It was putting a bunch of people to fucking work, right? That's what the Green New Deal is. That's what the fucking point is. It's giving people jobs. It's creating new industry. It's incentivizing industry. Sounds a lot like fucking capitalism to me, Zach, just done a little bit more responsibly, which is basically the point of the democratic socialists and their whole ideology. Like, yeah, we're not going to totally burn this thing down. We're not going to transition into a literal post-capitalist society. That's not really feasible at this point. But we can really salvage this country, and we can make sure that we continue down this road in a more responsible direction instead of one that's just going to enrich the people that are literally destroying this planet.
I mean, that was a big phenomenon in American politics at the time of the Green New Deal. And honestly, all the way through the Kennedy administration, it was this idea that if we want to maintain this prestige, if we want to maintain our ability to sit at the top of this, we cannot let the rest of society descend into like Great Depression. We can't allow everybody to be so poor. We need to set a floor of the living standard in this country. And we need to invest in working people. We need to do that by creating jobs, by establishing a minimum wage. Guys, it has been 17 years, okay? 17 years since the federal minimum wage in this society has been raised. It's still $7.25. And yes, less than 5% of U.S. workers are currently paid the federal minimum wage. But do you know what that effectively does? It means that we don't have a minimum wage anymore because they've allowed inflation and the job market to make it completely irrelevant. And so these guys back in the day, they understood if they were going to continue to be at the top of this aristocratic society, they couldn't let the underbelly fall apart. We're going right back to that stage of the game where even guys like JB Pritzker are like, hold on, wait. I actually kind of want there to be a working class, because if we let this go too far, the pitchforks are going to come out and they're going to take my ass out with them.
Yep. Which kind of was the point of the New Deal too, right? Yep. People say it saved capitalism, ironically, from the masses with pitchforks, right? Because it made things tolerable and it gave people enough dignity to not literally revolt, which is, you know, a more far left communist critique of FDR and the New Deal, and probably of the Green New Deal as well. But it's just crazy for these ladies to sit here and, you know, act like the Green New Deal is communism.
It's actually popular, even if you just ask Republicans about investing in our country and creating jobs with renewable energy. Like, for the most part, it's really popular unless you're pulling specific aspects of coal country, in which case you would need to let people know, like, hey, we don't want to leave you behind. We want to transfer your job from coal to this new industry, which people are still reticent about. You understand if you've made a living like that for a long time, but you are going to have to come in and be like, hey, we're not going to let your town suffer economically, but there are going to have to be some changes, and it's going to be better for your health too, because it's really bad for you working in these coal mines.
Exactly. Let's watch a bit more of this, guys, and then we can move on to super chats if that sounds good with you, Zach.
Oh, definitely.
Socialism debate, though, is kind of frustrating because in this country, we do live in a mixed economy. And I think that's the right balance, right? Important to have private industry. Right. I don't want the government making my shoes or my clothes. But there are certain elements of society that I think we need to take the profit motive out of.
Never mind. I was going to make a comment about the government. Never mind.
Right. So, for instance, I don't like the idea of private prisons because they're motivated to make money off of imprisoning people.
Also, can you hear the terrible audio? Like, everyone's lav is like fucking jostling around. Anna's trying to make a point, but you can hear Lindy Lee shuffling her blouse or whatever. It's like just such a trash show, terrible production. What a disgrace.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's performed as well as last week either. It's taken a big hit. Last week, after everybody mocked it, it got like 100,000 views. This one, you know, it might continue to grow, but after the first day, 40,000. So that's a pretty decent fall off from last week.
Yeah, you're right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if it picks up steam in the algorithm. But yeah, Zach's right. Less than half the views from the debut episode. Pretty big drop off. Although, you know, to be fair, this one is only a day old. Yeah, total cringe. Yeah. What a shit show.
Honestly, I'm not feeling threatened by this new view. To be honest, guys, we might not be done with Anna Kasparian yet. She might have to come crawling back to the Young Turks with a renewed lease on life. You know, more chipper than ever to be recording from, you know, the People's Studio.
Yeah. And someone said in our comment section of the last video reacting to her take that, like, oh, this is Anna's audition tape for Fox News, or an audition tape for an even bigger gig in right-wing media. But again, I'm kind of confused about what her plan is, because if that's true, pretty shitty audition tape. Like, if I was someone at Fox News, an executive at one of these right-wing news outlets, and I was taking a look at this, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we don't hire Anna. She doesn't seem very natural. She doesn't seem very confident. She kind of seems out of her element here. She doesn't really seem to have a strong POV. Because that's the thing about like a good commentator. You need a strong POV. Even if the people listening to you don't agree with every aspect of your ideology, they want to feel like you have it figured out. They want to feel like you know what's going on and have an opinion on it, right? And Anna's in this weird place where it feels like she should be in the audience, right? Not on the panel. It seems like she should be listening to the show, not participating in its creation. Like she just seems like she's floating around without really much of an ideological core at all.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.